All right, it is 1:30. We are back from recess. We are finishing our third group today of budget presentations. Jennifer, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Good afternoon. We are on our last budget group for the departmental budget hearings. This afternoon, we have the Public Works budget section. And just a reminder, these are departmental requests for the budget. This is not our preliminary budget. This is just a working session as we get to more information to the commissioners so that you guys can decide what our budget will be later on. Thank you.
Fraser, you are up first.
Thank you, Commissioners. Steve Bauman, County Appraiser, and I'm going to thank you for considering our budget request for 2025. Our total request, $2,428,686. It's a 1.9% increase overall. Out of that, wages and salaries are 2.15% increase. We had a decrease of 4.3% in our contractual services, and that's because of the insurance being moved to the general fund. So it's taken away from us there. So that equates to an overall increase, as I said, of 1.9%. Our personnel makes up majority of our office, like most administrative departments do, at 95%. And then lastly, we have our CIP requests included in here for 2025. That's $24,000 being funded by our Register of Deeds Technology Fund. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the appraiser? No. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Becky, you're up next, Register of Deeds.
Good afternoon. I'm Becky Neosi, Register of Deeds. Basically, I'm asking for a flat budget this year, except for salaries, of course. And I want to thank you for continuing to offer us good salary packages so we can retain and recruit employees. There was one line item that went up just for membership dues for the Kansas Register of Deeds Association. I just want to thank my staff for being wonderful employees. I couldn't do it without them. And just a reminder, I do have that tech fund that helps with my budget. $120,000 to $150,000 of expenses go through that tech fund each year. And then an additional amount goes to other county offices in the Land Records Fund. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
You just have one vacancy right now?
Yes, and that vacancy is paid out of the tech fund, and but we're hoping to be able to fill that. Actually, we have filled it part-time, and then hoping that will go to a full-time position at the beginning of the year. So we have good news on that front.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions?
Done.
All right. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Kurt?
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Niehaus, Director of Public Works. I have 8 slides, and hopefully they won't take more than about 15 minutes. Okay. In summary, I would salary increases account to about $36,500. That's an increase of less than 1%. As you know, we don't have much control over salaries. I was quite surprised it was as low as it was, but we've had some retirements, and our workman's comp percentages went down significantly for 2025. So that's good news for the county. Commodities and services, I'd like an additional $90,000, mostly for materials that we put on the road. That represents just a 1.9% increase from 2024. Basically, our budget, non-salary, is only $360,000 higher than it was in 2017, and that represents an average 1% increase over the last 8 years. And then this is what I have in more detail. It might be hard to read. But really, the stuff in red is increases. The stuff in blue is a major or substantial decrease. I wanted you to see these. A lot of the large commodity increases are for rock, asphalt, traffic signals, oil, things like that. So I believe the 90,000 is a fair increase. A lot of the rock expense, you'll see that it's 120,000 higher than last year, will be reimbursed to Shawnee County from Grove and Monmouth Township. Capital inventory or capital improvement plan for equipment, basically what we plan to use or spend this year will be $700,000. Those are net costs after either trade-in or Purple Wave sales. As we have traditionally done in the past, we'd like $300,000 of that to come from capital outlay and $400,000 from our special machinery account. I would be remiss in not talking about our significant road projects for this year. As you know, we have one on Auburn Road between Southwest 29th and K4. I anticipate that total project cost will be $12 million. We have Southeast 45th Street still hanging out there between California and West Edge Road. I'd like to get started back onto that project at some point. The design is complete. Right-of-way cost will be minimal, and I'm hoping we can complete that within the next 5 years. Sales tax projects, number one, Northwest 46th Street. It's in design. I anticipate a total project cost of $13 million. You might wonder why a 2-mile project only costs $13 million and a 1/2 mile project costs $12 million. I won't go into that right now, but if you have questions about the reasons for that, I can sure provide you that information. And then sales tax project number 2, as you know, is coming up within the next 2 or 3 years. Rochester Road from Walmart to Northwest 50th Street. We anticipate a roundabout at 35th and possibly at 50th, and we anticipate a total project cost of $26 million. Bridge projects, the only thing that I really want you to be aware of is what's in red, Northwest 35th over a tributary to Little Soldier Creek. The red is we move that from 2027, which was in the last year's budget. We moved that from year 2027 to 2025. It's under design. Northwest 78th over Half Day Creek. It's a newly added project for 2027. And then Maple Hill Road over the Kansas River in 2029. We're going to paint that superstructure. That is newly added. All the other items listed up there were the same as last year. Radio replacements, 2025 represents the second year in our radio replacements. I had budgeted $80,000 last year. Our order is in. It's a few dollars less than $80,000. And I hope to replicate that pretty much in 2025. As you know, these radios are old. They're no longer supported. The new ones will be consistent or they'll be compatible with what the Sheriff Department has in EOC. Contract maintenance projects. I would be remiss in not talking about these because we have to pay for this out of my budget account. I still want to do some work on southbound Croco Road, similar to what we did on northbound Croco Road here a couple of years ago. Gary Ormsby Drive may require some additional work in the future. That pavement takes a lot of heavy truck traffic and shows signs of distress. We want to mill and overlay the 2-mile section of South Topeka Boulevard within the next 2 years. What I'd like to do is put that out to contract milling and we could do the overlay work. Finally, the last 2 projects, intersection of Southeast 45th and Southeast Adams, that's a traffic signal. There's going to be some pavement replacement that's required. Ideally, if I had money falling out of the sky, I'd like to replace that signal with a roundabout. I think it would be a wonderful location for a roundabout, but that's kind of a pie in the sky thing. And then the roundabouts at Northwest Hunter Ridge / Oakley and at Fielding Road on Northwest 46th, that's going to need a mill and inlay. Ongoing concerns, I talk about it every year. Labor, the unknowns about labor, wages, availability of workforce numbers. That adds risk to our projects, and risk adds cost. Material prices and availability, we've seen some real volatility in the last few years. Things seems to be settling down, but we still are paying significantly more money for rock and asphalt. The asphalt price index, I just wanted to show you that when we did Southeast 29th in December 2020, that was $410 per ton. It rose to a high of $775 a ton in July 2022, and since then it has become more stable. The last part of last year and early this year it was $605 a ton, and it has settled in over the last few months at $590 a ton. With equipment, you've got extended delivery times and parts availability. Again, these all add costs and uncertainty to projects. The number of contractors and suppliers in the area, that's a major concern. More competition equals lower costs. We essentially, well not essentially, we have one local supplier for hot mix asphalt, and we effectively have one local supplier for aggregate. And finally, I mean, I don't have to drive very far, and you guys don't have to drive very far here in town to know that there is a tremendous amount of construction activity taking place in Shawnee County. We are just about ready to let 2 major projects in Shawnee County. There is so much work going on, and there's so much work that's about ready to start. I'm worried that local contractors are swamped, and they're not going to be looking real hard for additional work. And you know what that means? That it means increased costs. So, with that, any questions?
One?
What about retirements? Do you have a number of those coming up this year?
Well, not this year, but we have a lot of people exactly my age, at 62, and I've talked about it in the past that we'll have to at some point prepare for a mass retirement in 4 to 5 years, but I don't think anything in 25 of significance.
You able to fill all the lanes with workers, or you have many vacancies right now?
We still have vacancies in the field, our road maintenance and our bridge maintenance positions, but they rotate in and out so frequently that none of them are open very long. It's unfortunate that we can't tend to hire these people and hold them longer than we do. The work is hard. You work in the heat, you work in the winter on snow and ice removal at all hours of the day or night. It's a tough job.
Your engineering staff's all sitting tight and happy?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
All right.
Aaron?
I don't have much to add. I mean, it sounds like you share the same concerns I do about the amount of work going on. I think, just anecdotally, it seems like nobody talked to each other ahead of starting projects this year.
Well, we had a media person call me or talk to Amanda about that very issue. You know, you can plan and talk to other parties all you want, but like up at Northwest 46 at US 75, we couldn't wait another year.
Yeah.
Things happen, and you need to take care of them.
Okay.
When you have the money available, you got to take care of your issues.
Yeah, a lot of big KDOT projects.
Yeah,
though.
right.
So piggybacking off of that, it's my understanding that on some of the KDOT projects, they're bringing in individuals from across the state, bidding, things out that maybe would have not otherwise been considered to far people that maybe are across the state as opposed to local. Do we need to start casting that net wider when we're doing bidding, or are we already doing that?
Two-part answer. Number one, KDOT's projects are so large, they can entice people, contractors from outside the area to bid on projects. Typically, Shawnee County projects aren't that large. We're hoping that our Auburn Road project and our Northwest 46th Street project will bring or come to the attention of maybe larger firms in the Kansas City area. And I think the Audit Finance's new online bid program really works into the favor of bringing people, non-traditional firms into maybe the realm of working on KDOT or county projects.
I had a question about that one roundabout you talked about. You, in a perfect world, you'd rather have you have your list of those?
It's the,
Hunter-
it's,
What was
if you can go back 2 slides.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember that
45th
street,
and
Hunter,
Adams,
so-
right?
Yes, 45th and Adams.
45th and Adams.
Stephanie?
That's all right.
But anyway, you know, we're working on 46th at US 75, and we're gonna be working from Fielding to Rochester on 46th Street, but in between the two, we've got 2 roundabouts that were built probably in 2009, maybe a little earlier. The asphalt's wearing out. Our people don't have the expertise to mill and inlay roundabouts. That takes kind of a special skill. So we'll have to bring in a contractor to do that work. Now, you might ask me, well, why didn't you include that in your project, your sales tax project? Because the sales tax projects are clearly defined. The limits are Fielding to Rochester. I felt it was inappropriate to extend the limits of our 46th Street sales tax project to include that work. And by the way, one item that I wanted to talk about real briefly, the people in the audience are probably getting ready to lynch me. The insurance costs. I wanted to talk apples and apples. So this really gives you an apples to apples comparison to 2024. But I do want to tell you, as some of the other directors have talked about, the insurance premium, this year we paid almost $100,000. I anticipated that it would go up another 20% for 2025, which amounted to $120,000. Again, it's in the listing on the right in bold red text. Audit Finance has since removed that $120,000 from my budget, and it is no longer in there, but I included it in the PowerPoint so that we were talking apples to apples. That's all I've got to say. Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay. Weed Department?
Good morning, Commissioners. John Landon, Director of the Weed Department. I'll just reiterate what other departments have said. My budget has increased about 4.73% this year, which have all been in MSA 1's salaries, wages, benefits, capers, that type stuff. All the other MSA 2 and 3 is no change, not increased at all. Any questions on my budget stuff?
Questions?
What was the increase for?
It's just in wages and benefit packages.
What was the percentage on that?
4.73.
All right.
You have 2 items for your CIP, those being a building expansion.
Yes, Commissioner Cook. Building expansion in 2027, just still on the radar. You know, a lot of moving pieces to this puzzle, so I think, you know, if we end up pushing it back till we see how everything settles out, then we're getting by, we're making do, so.
All right. The very top of the,
Oh, it's at the top.
yeah.
All right, I was looking for W down at the bottom.
yeah,
Yeah.
noxious weeds.
Sorry, our system still has it as NW. It will forever.
Okay.
I will say the only increase we would have had was the insurance thing that Jennifer pulled out, so, just on that policy we took out for the drone spray and stuff, so.
Okay. Any other questions?
Done.
All right. Planning, you're up.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Joni Thadani, Director of the Planning Department. And I do have slides, but I don't have a whole lot of information to share with you for this year. Organizational structure from last year had changed just a little bit because I had done a request for an increased position last year. As you are aware, I have a couple of vacancies right now. I'm working with the Human Resources Department to try and maneuver those around a little bit so that we can make them more efficient for the needs of the department. Sometimes when you put positions together and then you get people within those positions, you find that they don't necessarily work the way that you had originally thought that they would. And because I have some vacancies, I have the ability to try and maneuver those around a little bit. Budget overview, in essence, my budget will be going down just slightly this year. As others have pointed out, personnel services accounts for 98% of my budget. The contractual services and supplies is not changing at all in terms of our cost per year. And then the personnel services, I was able to bring that down just a little bit because I had asked for some additional overtime costs last year that I'm not going to ask for this year. With the positions that I have open, I don't feel like I need to have that additional overtime. And so that has gone down just a little bit, even with salary increases and such. We continue to move on, pretty on point for how we have the last couple of years in regards to our planning commission activity. I would say the last couple of months have been probably the busiest we've been over the last 2 years in regards to planning commission activity and the rezonings and conditional use permits that we've had going on. Board of Zoning Appeals, it's very infrequent that we have a case, but we did have one this last month. Building permit activity has stayed pretty consistent. I would think that we're probably going to meet the same numbers that we did last year. Although they do appear a little bit low on here, it's because these numbers are only through May, and so any of the permits that we've issued already through the month of June are not accounted for because that just ended, and for running those reports, it takes a little more time and effort to get that all calculated up. So we should be on point for meeting at least what we did last year. You'll see that the numbers back in 21 were a little bit higher, and so things have decreased just a little bit since then. The other thing that we've noted as potentially a case is that while the value that people give for a home or the value of the home that they're building may have reduced a little bit. So it's not necessarily the case that they're building fewer accessory buildings or fewer homes. It's more along the lines of maybe they're not quite as expensive because they just have to save costs in terms of the total project. That then affects the amount of revenue we bring in because the fees that we charge are generated by the value of a house or an accessory building. And so when they come in and they tell us on their building permit application that they're putting up a $40,000 accessory building versus a $70,000 accessory building, then the cost of the fee that we can charge them is lower. One thing that I've considered over the last year or two is whether I need to modify the method of how we charge those fees and do it based on the type of building or amount of square footage or some other method of associating what that fee is. The way we do it now is that they fill in a blank on the application to say what the completed cost of that structure is going to be, and we have no method of calculating whether or not that's accurate. We take it for their word and we use that to associate the fee. So if they say it costs them $300,000 but it really costs them $500,000, we just charge them the fee of the $300,000. So there are methods of us reconsidering how revenue could be generated. But we do see the effect of the fact that things are just more expensive and people are not building as expensive of a home or accessory building at this stage. Goals for the next couple of years. Ultimately, number one goal for me is staffing. That will continue to be the issue. Planning is a very specialized area. You don't have just anybody coming in who can handle the work. It takes people who are willing and able and who have the time to sit and really learn the specialized area. And so it does take us a little bit longer to find staff. And then once you have good staff, you want to keep those good staff. And so that's our top priority. We'll be re-looking at some building permit procedures and, of course, looking at our zoning regs and reviewing the comprehensive plan, some of those types of things coming up in the next couple of years. So, any questions?
Questions? Nope. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to solid waste.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. And like Steve Bauman said, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present my budget to you, and always thank you for your support over this past year and for future years, hopefully. Anyway, so we shall begin. And I want to kind of highlight our growth here, because that is important for one reason, and that reason is I'm 100% user fee funded with no tax dollars used. So this is my 5-year growth going back to 2020, and as you can see, we've had almost a 10% growth from back in 2020, a little over 2% growth from last year, and these are my July numbers. That's for a variety of reasons. There's a lot of growth out there, and then just customers are coming over because the other two providers are just raising their rates, and we're staying somewhat stable. So dollars matter to our customers, and that's why we're seeing that growth. As far as revenue, this is my forecasted amount for 2024, a little bit over 18.3. So that means, you know, that's what I operate off of, and that looks like I'll be able to put a little bit more into the fund this year, which is always a good thing. So real dollars, my 2024 budget was right at a little under 16.8, and this year I'm going to be a little under 7.2, which is a 2.35%, so a little bit over $394,000. I've had some decreases in some lines and some increases in other lines. I'm not going to highlight the decreases, but in 2 slides I will show you what my major increases are. For my 5-year CIP, this year I'm going to be asking for an estimated 1.46. We're looking at about 9 vehicles that we're looking to purchase this year. We're still awaiting, like Kurt alluded to, the supply chain still hasn't caught up to us, and I am awaiting 17 vehicles still that have been purchased and ordered, or have been ordered. 7 from 2023, and then 10 from this past year. So it's kind of frustrating, but it's just what we have to deal with. And then here are my increases. 108, that was for the old landfill, which I am financially responsible for. WM fees increase for the landfill, and then my route board fees as well. Wages, as everybody has talked about, and then in the 315, that's my commercial. Again, WM landfill fees. And these are all just cost of living fees that are incorporated into my contract. And I stand by for any questions.
Questions?
Yes, these vehicles that haven't arrived yet are, you said they were 2023, some of them?
Yes, sir. And my 2023 purchases were 7 rear load vehicles.
Will they be supplying you with probably 2024s then, or?
I'll have to go back and look.
I mean, are they still making 2020?
Well, yeah, it'd be a 2024, because keep in mind you have the chassis and then the body itself.
Right.
So more than likely those will be whatever year they start those productions in,
Yeah.
is what we're going to end up with.
Did you write them a check for it? Is this something where? it was
Money's
cash on
always
delivery?
encumbered, so we don't issue them a check until we actually receive the vehicles.
What are the odds that we receive those vehicles for the same price that we bought them for?
And I know you are not a fan of those surcharges, and I have been told that we will not experience those surcharges that we saw back for our 2022 and 2021 purchases. I'm not going to hold my breath on that, but that was what I have been told.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it the truck side or is it the?
A little bit of both,
Okay.
but this last one that we experienced, well, it was both of them, but the majority of the cost was on the truck itself, the chassis.
Okay.
Okay, and I will be followed by Keep America Beautiful.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for letting me attend this, as well as we would like to let you guys know what we've been up to here at Keep America Beautiful. I took it upon myself to kind of give us a snapshot of the fiscal year from last July to this July, kind of going over what we've done. Throughout the whole fiscal year, we had about 4,470 volunteers, about 8,940 participants, 20 sponsors / partners. We attended about 20 events, and then this kind of highlights kind of the bigger events that we did attend and or do. The first one was the Spooky Cemetery Trash Sweep of 23, and that was pretty fun to dress up in our costumes and go clean up trash. The SLI Festival of Trees, we submitted a tree there that was made completely out of plastic bottles. It was really fun to do, but also it helped another organization, but also brought, conversation with people of, oh, how was that done? Why was that done? We did the Kansas Lawn and Garden Show this last year. That was pretty fun. We got a lot of volunteers through that, handing out seeds then. We did the Logan Elementary STEM Fair, the Shawnee County Volunteers event. That was really good. We got a lot of other volunteers as well through that. We partnered with Silver Lake this year with Liz over there, and we helped her do a community cleanup over there in lieu of the Get Down and Get Dirty, which is what we had as well for 2024. We had, unfortunately, that day was scheduled for kind of bad weather. So about, I want to say, at least a third of the people showed up still to do that. On that day, we left it, of course, up to them due to the weather. But it was pretty neat to see people still want to come up and help. We attended about 30 meetings. There was about 120 education hours that we have put out there into the community of going over how to do compost and how to recycle and reuse, especially education and reusing. And the trash we collected was about 13,830 pounds, about 460 bags complete. And like I said, we're down a little bit this year because of that, the big event that we had that weather. But just wanted to come and say hi and let you know what we're doing. And then also, I did bring this, so in education as well, we're talking about plastic bags and how to reuse them. It takes, the life cycle of a trash bag is only 7 minutes from the time you take it to the grocery to your house. So it's about how can we keep those out of the landfills and reuse them. And I've seen this done over YouTube before and talks about reusing plastic bags for homeless mats. So also crocheting, I was hoping to start a group as well to get the community together and learn, a dyeing art, get together. It will help mental health as well. But also this was about 400 trash bags. So it took me about 40 hours, but and I just started crocheting, so it's not my best work, but it's my first, and it was pretty fun to kind of learn how to do that. And then also just bringing this to show people, we'll get them interested about what we can do and how to keep our earth clean and all that kind of stuff.
Pretty cool.
That is cool.
All right. Questions about Keep America Beautiful?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Jennifer?
That concludes our department hearings for 2025. Next on our list will be to discuss we will have a resolution on July the 11th for that BCC meeting, where we will discuss whether or not we will be expecting to exceed the revenue neutral rate with our 2025 budget. We also will have our revenue neutral rate hearing itself for the public on September the 5th at 9 a.m. And then we will have CIP discussions during the month of July and budget discussions preliminary during the months of July and August.
Okay. Since this is, I guess, still kind of technically a work session, is there any public comment? Any administrative comment? Anything from the commissioners? All right, then we're adjourned till Thursday.
Thank you.
4th of July.
Don't show up on Thursday. If you show up, you'll be by yourself.